Red Bull was on fire. The team had the second consecutive race with a 1-2 finish and the fastest lap on top of that. Even though Verstappen had a gnarly driveshaft issue in the qualification and had to start all the way from the 15th position, he managed to claw his way up to second place, thanks to a little bit of luck and a whole lot of skill. And let's not forget about Perez, who was leading the pack like a boss. But things got seriously intense when Verstappen started closing in on Perez. The two of them were pushing each other to the absolute limit, making for a nail-biting finish. However, even though they put on an epic show, it seems like both drivers were a bit unhappy with something behind the scenes. Now, I don't want to start any rumors or anything, but this could be a sign of some unrest within the Red Bull team. Are we about to see some drama unfold in the coming races? Let's take a closer look. The final laps of the Jeddah race were definitely intense and heart-stopping. Perez was leading the pack like a boss, but Verstappen was hot on his heels and pushing hard. But then, things started to get a little tense. Verstappen heard a strange noise, and the Red Bull team was scrambling to figure out if his driveshaft was failing again. Meanwhile, Perez was starting to get nervous about his brake pedal, which was feeling a little too long for comfort. And just when you thought things couldn't get any crazier, Perez was told to ease up on the gas. But he was curious. Was Verstappen getting the same message? It was like a scene out of a spy thriller or something. The Red Bull team was going back and forth, telling Perez and Verstappen to slow down, speed up, slow down again. It was like they couldn't make up their minds. Finally, they gave the green light for both drivers to give it their all. But just as quickly, they slammed on their brakes, figuratively speaking, of course, when it became obvious that Verstappen wasn't going to catch Perez. And yet, even with all this back and forth, Verstappen still managed to pull off a last-second coup and steal the fastest lap point from his own teammate. You couldn't make this stuff up if you tried. According to Horner, the team had to make some quick decisions in those last few laps. Once we got to the last 5 laps and it was clear that Max wasn't going to catch, then they came out of it and drove to a lap time, he said. It was like a chess game on wheels, with the Red Bull team making all the right moves. I think the biggest point of concern for us during the Grand Prix, when Max radioed in about 15 laps to go, saying he heard a high-pitched noise at high speed. And so your heart immediately sinks, thinking about the driveshaft failure of yesterday. But checking all the data that we have here, everything that they could see back in Milton Keynes, all the parameters we had looked okay, and obviously, then they pushed on again, said Horner. The Red Bull team was playing it safe in those early stages of the race, with Perez getting instructions to hit a target lap time of plus 0.4 seconds. Horner later explained that this was because they were worried about a potential driveshaft issue with Verstappen's car. You can't be too careful in a high-stakes race like this. But then Perez started getting antsy, asking if Verstappen was also slowing down. Pushing for no reason, he complained. You could practically feel the tension mounting in the pit lane as the drivers tried to navigate the tricky balancing act between pushing hard and preserving the car's reliability. Horner acknowledged that this kind of concern was natural for the lead car. You always want to know that the tail car has hit the target first, he said. But for the Red Bull team, the priority was managing any potential reliability issues and ensuring that both drivers made it to the end of the race in one piece. Eventually, they were able to give both drivers the green light to go all out once again. It was like a high-wire act, with everyone holding their breath and hoping for the best. And in the end, it all paid off. Both drivers made it to the finish line, and Verstappen even managed to snatch the fastest lap point from his teammate. Horner made it crystal clear that there were no restrictions on the drivers racing. "Let them rip, let them race," he exclaimed. However, when Verstappen's driveshaft issue emerged, the team decided to err on the side of caution and turned down both cars' pace. But as soon as they determined that there was no actual problem, they allowed the drivers to go full throttle once more. The team was even happy to let Verstappen go for the fastest lap at the end of the race. Horner revealed that Verstappen had already decided to go for it himself. When Perez asked for the fastest lap time, it was evident to everyone that Verstappen would try to nab it. So it was obvious why he was asking. He knew that Max was going to have a crack at it, and Checo gave it up after the first couple of turns. He was already a tenth and a half down, and then you saw him back out of it. I think that you pass the message on to the driver, of course. The team's interest is to maximize the points, and at whatever point you feel that you may have a reliability issue, then you obviously manage that. I think inevitably Max said on the radio the point for the fastest lap meant a great deal to him, and there was no reason for us not to let either he or Checo have a crack at it. Red Bull advisor Marco has confessed that Verstappen was on a mission to snag the fastest lap from Perez, regardless of any orders from the team. The Dutchman had his eyes locked on the prize of leading the championship ahead of the Grand Prix in Australia in 2 weeks' time. "That was uncontrollable. That's just Max," Marco exclaimed to Australian broadcaster ORF. Both were constantly asking who had the fastest lap, and Max waited until the last lap so Perez couldn't counter. "It means a lead in the World Championship for him. We are very satisfied with the race." Verstappen's impressive comeback from 15th position to finish second was nothing short of miraculous, but he wasn't content with the result. In fact, he boldly proclaimed that he was not here to be second, a statement that could be seen as a slight against his teammate who finished first. It's a curious attitude to take, considering the remarkable feat he achieved, but it just goes to show the competitive fire that burns within him. In Formula One, teamwork is often touted as a crucial component of success. However, Max Verstappen has demonstrated time and time again that it's not at the forefront of his mind. Even his own father, Jos, seemed to lack enthusiasm for Sergio Perez's first win of the season, despite the Mexican securing victory for their Red Bull team. While engineers and fans were ecstatically celebrating with Perez in the paddock, Jos was caught on camera standing stoically by. Not even a hint of a smile was visible on his face, and some fans were outraged by what they deemed a despicable attitude. They pointed out that Perez's father had previously celebrated Verstappen's successes, making Jos's behaviour even more questionable. Although some have suggested that Jos did later shake Perez's hand in congratulations, regardless, the fact that he failed to show any excitement for Perez's triumph speaks volumes. Even Max's impressive comeback from starting 15th on the grid couldn't overshadow the apparent lack of enthusiasm from his own father towards his teammate's win. Max seems to be acting like a spoiled brat, throwing a fit and not playing nice with his teammate. It's not a good look for the reigning champion, especially when Perez has been helping him out so much. But on the other hand, Red Bull might actually be loving this drama because they know their rivals are so far behind that the only competition is between their two drivers. And let's be real, it's all about Checo at this point. If he's happy with the team, then it's all good. Still, it's pretty clear that if Checo does decide to leave, it's going to be tough for Red Bull to find another driver who's willing to put up with Verstappen's selfish antics. At the end of the day, the best thing Red Bull can do is let them race fair and square with two equally powerful cars. What did you think about the race? Do you think what Verstappen did was fair? It overshadowed his amazing performance getting back to second from 15th. Don't be shy and let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you liked our videos, check this video on the left about Toto Wolff claiming he doesn't care if he needs to copy Red Bull design in order to win.